What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about things that need to stop in youth football on today's episode of our First Down Training show. We're going to be talking about coaching egos, we're going to be talking about swearing at players, and we're going to be talking about all the things that I think are wrong about youth football and the current state that we're in. Then we're going to get into some current events. We're going to be talking about how some flag football players feel that it's a little bit unfair that NFL players want to play in the Olympics, which I think is complete BS if I'm being honest. And then we're going to get into some of your guys' questions that you left on a previous episode. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get started. So youth football. I mean, I think we've all played it. We've all seen coaches who coach youth football. I've definitely trained a lot of athletes that are involved with youth football, whether that's Pop Warner or whether that's flag. And there are a lot of things wrong with youth football, in my opinion, that we're going to discuss today to maybe help you guys keep your head on straight and be able to recognize some things if you're on a team thinking about joining a team that should maybe probably deter you from that team. So number one is going to be coaching egos. So I think coaching is a very ego-driven thing. At the high school level, at the collegiate level, obviously probably at the NFL level, and even what I do, which is like private training. I don't actually coach a team. I don't work for a team or anything like that. I coached for a high school team for a year and I was done. A big part because of the ego situation. I was in a situation where, the head guy was just like his way or the highway, no input from anybody, treated all the assistant coaches very, very poorly, in my opinion. He did some nice things, but behind the scenes, I think it was a pretty tough relationship in the coach's office, so I decided to get out of that. That just wasn't for me. It wasn't the athletes. It wasn't like I didn't like working with athletes, but that was just me personally. Now, I see a lot of these like egos at the youth level, which is absolutely insane to me because I think, what's youth football for? Youth football is to prepare you for high school football, and then high school football is to prepare you for college football. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make boys into men. We're trying to turn young boys into men and get them ready for life, because you can learn a lot about life through sports, dealing with adversity, dealing with different setbacks that you might get. And I think a lot of times coaches look at it the wrong way at the youth level. I think they're super hyper focused on winning and having things done their way because it's an ego boost. It makes them feel good. And I'm not saying be that guy that just plays the game to have fun. I'm a very, very hyper competitive individual, probably too competitive at times. At least that's what family and friends tell me. With everything, right? And so like I want to win as much as the next guy. And if I'm coaching a team full of like 10 and 11-year-olds, like we're playing the game to win. And that's kind of the culture that we're going to drive. But at the same time, though, it's about development at the end of the day. And I think what happens a lot of times with coaches is that they don't focus on development. And I think if you're a youth football player or a parent of a youth football player, you should be trying to find a situation that's actually going to develop your kid. Because at the end of the day, let's say your football season is from August all the way to November. Come December, nobody is going to care. Not a soul on earth is going to care if you won the Super Bowl or you won the championship for your like youth league. Because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Like people care about if you win maybe a couple high school championships, maybe. And then people obviously care in college and people obviously care in the NFL. That's the pinnacle. But at youth ball, like what are we actually doing it for? Why are we actually working with these athletes? Why are we actually being so hard on these athletes and making them practice all the time? Is it to feed your ego so you could win an 8U championship? Or is it to make these athletes better players and better men? So I think a lot of times coaches are not focused on that. And I think that you should run from that situation as fast as you can. If you're in a situation where you're on a team and the coach is just one of those guys that's just, it's doesn't focus on developing, only focus on plays. It needs to be done his way. You need to do it this way, you need to do it that way. And you should respect your coaches. I'm not saying that, but I think it should be more focused on developing the players and walking them through good habits that is going to help them later on in life, or later on in the game, if you will. Just because playing high school football is hard, playing college football is extremely tough. And if you want to play at the top tier level professionally, whatever league that might be in, that is extremely hard too. And I think a lot of times coaches they don't develop the athletes. They're not walking through their position groups and explaining to them certain things. They're not walking through with the receivers and teaching them how to run routes correctly. They're not walking through with the quarterbacks. This is how you go through this read correctly. This is how you do this correctly. They just tell the quarterback, hey, throw it to this guy. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. Hey, do that. And there's no emphasis on the details of the position, because guys, to get really, really good at anything, you need to rep out good habits over and over and over again. And if you're not getting that at the youth level, you're actually hurting yourself, because football it takes a lot of time. Like I know kids that I train that play youth football, and they're starting practice right now. They're in pads. They're not necessarily hitting, but they're already practicing. They're doing conditioning and things of that nature. And it's so important to have a good coach that is focused on actually developing the talent rather than, just hyper-focused on winning and that's all that matters. Winning is important. I'm not trying to say that, but you need to be in a situation where they're focusing on you getting better as a player. Every day at practice, you're getting better, you're getting better, you're getting better, and everybody is getting reps to improve. That's what youth football is about in my eyes. Now, second thing that I feel is a major, major problem in youth sports is going to be just swearing. I'm not perfect by any means. Like I cuss all the time, I swear all the time, I shouldn't. It's something that I try to be better at. But I am always, always mindful when I am working with a group of younger athletes to make sure that I do not swear or specifically swear at them. I think it's just, at the end of the day, as coaches, you need to take a bigger responsibility and you need to understand that like you're leaving lasting impressions on these kids and on these athletes, right? Sometimes you get athletes who are 9, 10, 11 years old and obviously their brains aren't developed, they haven't developed habits, and if they see you on the practice field, every other word's the F word, you're cussing at them, you're cussing when something goes wrong, whatever it is, and it slips. I get that. I'm not trying to say that you need to be perfect because nobody is perfect and I am far from it. I've slipped before in front of young kids and I always apologize, and if I hear a young kid swearing, I tell them to stop because we're trying to set the example as athletes and especially as like educators, if you will, to these kids that it's not okay to behave that way. It's not okay to talk that way. You don't want to talk that way because how are you going to act in the workplace? Like let's say when you get older and you get an actual real job, and are you going to be cussing every 5 minutes? That's going to be a problem. That's going to turn off customers. Some people may not think that way. Some people may not have that in their vocabulary. They weren't raised that way. And that's a deterrent that could ultimately get you maybe even fired, get you reprimanded, whatever it is. So are we trying to set the example for these young men to become actual good men? Or are we just, again, letting our ego and our own emotions get in the way and what's going to make us feel really good and cussing at a 10, 11-year-old kid? I've heard these stories, you guys, and you cannot do that. Especially if you're a young coach, you need to take responsibility because you don't want those kids to associate that with football. Because I know me personally, like football has completely changed my life, saved my life, makes me insanely happy to be able to do what I get to do every day and talk with you guys, interact with you guys, do our camps, work with athletes. I love football so much. And it was because I had a great group of coaches around me as a younger athlete that never acted that way, and they showed me what what it means to be a competitor, what it means and what this game can show you in an actual real life setting. So I would recommend if you're in a situation where you got a coach who's just every other word's the F word, every other word's a swear word, he's swearing at the players, what the F are you doing, this stuff, get out of that situation because that's not going to help you long term and that's not going to benefit you long term because we're trying to mold these young men into adults, and that is something that you need to be super hyper focused on when choosing a tackle team. Now, the next thing I feel that is a major, major problem with youth sports is the lack of certifications for coaches. So this is mainly for like the defensive players, but if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, the participation in youth tackle football is decreasing every single year. Is it because of the rise in the popularity of flag football? Maybe. I am a firm believer that it's in the rise in the popularity of like concussion information and like safety information about football, right? And it's just like, there's all kinds of studies out there about brain damage. A lot of people are saying, hey, don't have your kids play tackle football because it's going to hurt them long term from a safety standpoint. And those are all valid arguments, and those are all probably true, right? I don't have the exact arguments, but that's probably true. And the participation, at least I know from firsthand experience and from reading stats. From firsthand experience, I'm getting way more people that want to train with us, come to our camps that have never played tackle football before, and they're about to enter high school. Now, there's a push-pull there because flag football can be great, and it's the same attributes, right? Like we talked about, like having a coach that is focused on development, having a coach that is teaching you how to be a young man and deal with adversity and be able to deal with problems that you face in this game of football. Because that's why sports are so great, because sports are a lot like life. Like life's hard, man. Like bad stuff happens all the time. And who are you going to be? Are you going to be the dude that rolls over under the covers and just cries about it and just you're the victim 24/7? Or are you going to be the dude that's like, okay, these are my circumstances, and this applies for anything. These are my circumstances. How can I get better? How can I push through this? Or how can I beat this? And that's what sports teaches you, right? And again, if you're in a situation with sports where you're battling adversity, you're losing a game, you're having a bad practice, how are you going to respond to that? And those lessons that you learn as a football player transition into life. And I feel you learn more of those lessons in tackle football. Now, the reason why I say that is because tackle football sucks. When it comes to a conditioning standpoint, you're in the middle of August and you have all this gear on, you're having to tackle people, your body's bruised, you're hurting, like you don't want to get out of bed and go to practice. That's life. Sometimes life is so freaking hard that you don't want to get out of bed and you don't even want to go to your work or go to your job or do whatever, regardless to the situation that you're in life. So I think tackle football participation would increase if there was more of an emphasis on safety precautions, and that comes from the coaches. It stems from the top down, in my opinion. I think I see it all the time. Like, you'll get like a 9U tackle football team, and it's just like a bunch of volunteer dads on the coaching staff, and it's like, all right, like, I don't know if I want this guy who maybe played football in the 1970s, 80s, no offense, and we need volunteers. You need volunteers, but like, it's just like, I don't necessarily know if I want him teaching my son how to tackle. And the biggest difference that I equate it to is rugby, because in rugby, from a very young age, I remember I was talking to this gentleman at a camp we had in North Carolina who was a rugby coach, and he's like, from a young age, all we do is focus on tackling form, having perfect tackling form, not leading with your head, which can cause a lot of injuries. And I feel like if there was more of a stress on certifications for coaches from a safety perspective, I know there are certifications and there are courses that you need to take, but I think those need to be much more challenging, and not anybody should be able to be a football coach. I know me personally, when I coached at a high school level, I was a receiver coach. I wasn't teaching tackling. I wasn't doing that. I don't know anything about tackling, to be 100%. Well, I know a little something, but I'm not like an expert in that field. I didn't have to take one course, not one single course, not one single class on safety around the game. And that's a high school level. What about the youth level? So I would say there needs to be, I don't know who necessarily controls these laws. I don't necessarily who makes these laws, whether it's a government or whether it's, some like Pop Warner Association. They need to make it much more challenging to become a youth football coach. And you need to be able to learn about the safety, learn about how to actually tackle properly, to be able to teach that to young kids, because if young kids get bad habits, that's where the injuries happen. And then you read all the stats and then the participation of tackle football goes down. So I feel like that's one of the biggest issues in youth football that nobody talks about. Everybody loves to talk about the safety element of it. How about we hold the coaches accountable? And that's just my opinion coming from a coaching perspective. So guys, I hope this made sense to you. I hope this was able to kind of give you some insight on choosing a tackle team if you're in a situation that maybe you're unhappy with, because this information I feel is vital for your athlete's development as a man, and also your safety if you're a youngster out there. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But guys, now we're going to get into some current events. We're going to be talking about some different things, flag football related, Olympics related. We're going to be talking about a story that came out about Travis Hunter and his now wife. And then we're going to answer some of your guys' questions. But before we do that, you guys, if you are a QB or wide receiver watching this video and you'd like to train with myself and my staff of coaches, we are going to be traveling out to 4 more cities across the entire U.S. this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So guys, if you go to that very first link in the description below, that is where you can sign up. Our next camp is going to be in Boston, Massachusetts. Then we'll be heading out to Columbus, Ohio. Then we'll be going to Boise, Idaho, and finishing off our camp tour in Los Angeles, California. So guys, if you want to sign up or you want to be added to a wait list for any of our camps that are sold out, go to that very first link in the description below. That's where you can find all the information. So let's get into some current events and some stories. So current event number 1, you guys, it is 5'8", 140 pounds, U.S. flag football QB Darrell Duchette thinks it's disrespectful that NFL players think they will take Olympic team spots when their sport debuts in 2028. I think it's disrespectful that they just automatically assume that they're able to just join the Olympic team because of the person that they are. They didn't help grow this game to get to the Olympics. All right, Darrell, however you pronounce your name, you're a great flag football quarterback, I'm sure, but you are not even close. Remotely close. Anybody on that field, and I don't think people understand this, they're not even remotely close to the level of athlete that an NFL player is. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And like, some people might make the argument that flag football is a totally different sport than tackle football. It's true, but tackle football is much more difficult. Fact of life. Take it from a guy who's played both. Take it from a guy who works with a lot of flag football players, even adults. I've worked with adults that are flag football players, and I've worked with NFL players. I've worked with college players. I've worked with high school players. I played in high school, played in college. I'm telling you this right now, it is not even a close battle between who are the better athletes and who would do better in flag football. I get his argument that they haven't done anything for the game of flag football. I guess that's fair, but flag football has been around a long time. It's been around a long time. I think the growth of flag football is it doesn't have anything to do with the players, because I couldn't name one player. Like, I don't even know who that guy is. I've seen clips because I was doing research before I wanted to talk about this. And he's a decent flag football quarterback, like, for sure, but I couldn't name one player. So like, I don't think they've done anything to grow the sport. I think the Olympics has done something to grow the sport by making it an Olympic sport. And I would make the argument that girls are doing more for the sport of flag football than guys, because girls flag is astronomically rising. Like, it's huge. Like, especially in California where I live, I'm getting way more inquiries for girls who want to do training. I think it's great and I think it's awesome. But I just don't think I think you should choose your words wisely. And I think everybody who hears this argument, you could take from this video to give your talking points. If you saw Patrick Mahomes on a flag football field, wouldn't it be fair? I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and we equate it to, like, have you ever seen like a 5-star quarterback play 7-on-7? It's not even fair. Like, it's literally not even fair. It's just so easy, like, because it's not 11-on-11, it's 7-on-7. It's much, much easier. Same thing with flag, guys. And, like, there's a lot more lateral, change of direction, whatever. But, like, you put Micah Parsons on a flag football field, like, everybody's like, oh, it's a lot more agile and you have to pull flags. Like, bro, like, that guy would just touch a dude and he would fall over. Like, receiver DBs, it's not even an argument. Like, and I think most people would agree with me on that. But I would love to see NFL players in the Olympics because we win. It wouldn't even be close. And I think it's just, I think they're trying to make it like, hey, we want it to just be flag football players because we want it to be competitive, to be 100% honest with you, because we would blow everybody out of the water if it was NFL players on that flag field. But guys, the skill level, the gap, it's astronomical, and you need to understand how good these NFL players are. Like, sometimes, like, people will always bag on players on their favorite teams that don't do well, like, oh, that guy sucks, that guy's this. If you saw that dude t-shirt and shorts at a field, you'd think that was the greatest football player you've ever seen, right? To compete at that level, it's insane. So I would love it. I think NFL players should be in the Olympics, and I don't think individuals have done much for the sport of flag football. I really don't. I couldn't name one player, if I'm being totally honest with you. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, next current event is, so Loyalty Jaguars superstar rookie wide receiver Travis Hunter reportedly did not have his new wife Leanna Linney sign a prenup agreement. Hunter recently signed his rookie contract worth $46.65 million and $30.6 million signing bonus. There's nothing sweeter than true love. Then above it, it's no prenup was signed. All right. Personally, I hate, like, the guy got married. Like, everybody, there's all those stories about his girlfriend, like, cheating on him and stuff like that. And, like, maybe that's true. I don't know if it's true or not. Like, Travis never talked about it. He never confirmed it. And he's obviously still with her. And, like, here, I'll be real with you guys. Like, Travis Hunter could probably get just about, like, you sign a $30 million, you get $30 million for just signing a contract, you could probably get any girl you want, to be 100% honest with you. And he's an athlete. Like, I would assume that a lot of the allegations that were thrown out are probably not the truest thing in the world. And I absolutely hate that the headlines are, oh, no prenup was signed. Because you're just looking for clicks, bro. Like, you don't even know that. Like, what did you ask Travis Hunter? Like, hey, did you get a prenup? Like, no, it's not public info. It's like, nobody knows if he had a prenup or not. Like, it's so dumb, and I hate that culture about Twitter where everybody's just, like, fishing for clicks. But guys, like, don't believe everything you see on social media. Sometimes things on social media take a life of its own. What I will say is, like, probably a lot of the stuff that you heard was probably not true, simply because, like, Travis Hunter could be with anybody that he wants to, and he's not. So it's one of those things, guys. Like, trust me, Travis Hunter is probably not whipped, and he's probably not in a situation where that's the only girl he can be with, right? So I would strongly advise you to just let the dude be happy and stop commenting on that stuff and stop buying into the clickbait headlines, okay? All right, you guys, now we're gonna get into some questions that you guys left on a previous episode. So question number 1 is going to be from Chiefs fan 2011. I'm planning to be a QB going into freshman year. I don't have crazy accuracy power. About 70% of my passes should be caught. Other 30% are bad passes. I can only throw 30 yards. Now I'm in a heavy flex bone option offense like the military academy. So do I focus more on the option and perfecting that? Or do I focus on making my passes perfect to where I never miss? My goal right now is just to start varsity as soon as possible. Yeah, man. So what I would say, if you're in that, like, kind of like flex bone wing T offense as a quarterback, you obviously have to work that, but your primary focus is making the most of your opportunities, right? So I'm assuming that you're worried about, like, recruiting purposes, because you're in, like, a run-heavy offense as a quarterback. You're going to get opportunities to throw the ball. The thing about college recruiting is it's not about having a bunch of crazy stats. It's not about having a 10-minute long highlight tape. You need a 1 to 3 minute long tape that showcases that you can play college football. And your best 5 plays should be at the beginning of that, because chances are that's probably all a coach is going to watch. So I would focus more on improving your arm strength, accuracy, your skills, because when you get those opportunities, you want to make the most of those opportunities, because it's more so about film, not so much about stats. So I hope that makes sense, man. I appreciate you asking that question. Next question here, you guys, is going to be from C. Kocher 554. Hey, coach, rising freshman quarterback, 5'10", 140. Any tips? There's a freshman, JV, and varsity team. So if you're a freshman quarterback, the most important things that you could work on before going to varsity ball is going to be the following. Number one, being able to read defenses. So you need to be able to process information. So you got to know your playbook, and you got to have a basic knowledge of coverages, because the difference from freshman ball to varsity ball is it's much, much faster. So you need to understand reads so you can make faster decisions. Second thing is going to be arm strength. Work on your leg strength, improve your core strength, as that's going to help with your throwing mechanics to be able to drive the ball and try to put on a little bit of size. Because again, biggest difference is speed. The throws get longer, and you're going to be taking some more shots by bigger dudes, so you need to put on some size. And then last but not least, I would work on extend playability, because I think a lot of times freshman ball, it's very just quick release, catch, one step throw. JV ball, same thing. Varsity ball, they might be asking you to go from read 1 to read 2, work backside. There might be more advanced concepts, so you may not have that kind of time, so you may have to move in the pocket, get out and throw on the run. So working on those things will better increase your chances of being an actual varsity quarterback. So I hope that makes sense, dude. Now, last question here from the Mad Hatter 106. I was wondering about parents. So this is a video we made last week about just general youth football stuff, not enjoying football, not enjoying the process. I was wondering about parents. My son told me 2 months ago that he didn't want to play anymore. He was tired of the lifting, workouts, etc. I'm the one who was pushing him to do it. He's freaking incredible. I've since stopped all workouts and just let him have his time. He seems to be coming back around, so I stopped with everything. Yeah, so my advice for parents, if you have an athlete who feels like they're just kind of burnt out and tired, is just give them a break. Because at the end of the day, that athlete's probably playing football because he loves it, but he feels like it's more of a job. And now, again, at the collegiate level, especially at any level past that, it is a job, right? It's 24/7, 365, and you got to love the work that goes into that process. But I feel like sometimes letting a kid just take a week off and let him be a kid is probably going to be most beneficial for him. I know me personally, when I was a player, it would be nonstop for me training-wise from November all the way till probably October when our season ended. But I would always take a week off to just kind of decompress, get myself back into just a relaxed state, and then we would get back into the off-season training. So I think taking a week off is great, because especially if athletes are dealing with burnout, that can give them a good reset. They start to miss the work, they start to miss football, and that could get them kick-started back into everything. So I hope that makes sense, man. I appreciate you asking that question. I don't have kids, but just from my experience of being a player and working with a lot of kids, that's what I would say, okay? Now, fellas, that concludes this episode of our First Down Training Show. Hope this was able to give you some value. Hope you guys learned some things, and I'll see y'all next time.